for being here. Maybe I'll take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about myself. The reason I'm doing what I'm doing for the council is that I spent quite a few years actually teaching technical writing at Brigham Young University. So that's one in my skill set then, is doing what is required for a project in to earn a doctorate in commissioner science. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We'll get started. There we are. We got in the slideshow mode now.
Question: did everyone get a copy of the handout I sent, which was a copy of this guidebook for you to print out yourselves?
I got mine.
Maybe a better way to ask that, is there anybody who didn't get one? If you didn't, send one or the other of us an email and we'll see that you get a copy. Or the other way you can do it is to simply go to the National Commissioner website and you can download it, CED 707, which is in the title to this slide. Okay, so the guidebook is really a very excellent presentation on the doctorate program. And today I'll just kind of be hitting the highlights. And we have, 40 minutes? And I'm not going to use all that time. So there's going to be plenty of time left at the end of my presentation for just discussion, questions, so on, that I hope will generate during the presentation. If you have questions that come up during the presentation, type them into the chat box, and my helpers will let me know if I should answer it at that point, or we can save it until later. But we want to make sure that all your questions get answered at some point during this morning. Commissioner training, just to quickly review that. That's a district and council responsibility of training their commissioners. And it depends very much on the size of the council and the districts and geography and so on as to how that gets done. But it tends to be different in every council that I'm aware of. And in this council, a lot of it just falls to Commissioner College to get it done. But at any rate, it starts with the basic training course, which is online and is really a very good course. And then the Commissioner College, to advance to a bachelor's degree, you need 7 courses. And then an Arrowhead requires 6-month tenure as commissioners in commissioner service of some kind. And the Set Masters requires 7 more courses. And then the commissioner's key after 3 years tenure. Again, in some kind of commissioner service. The doctorate degree, 10 more courses, and a project or thesis. And we'll spend most of our time today on the project or thesis and teaching and training. I can't see the end of that, and I don't remember what it is. Somebody tell me. Oh, teaching.
It says teaching, teaching or training at a college, recruiting a new commissioner, and a doctorate, not 5 years of tenure.
Yep. Okay. But at any rate, that's the process. And we're going to be talking only about the last part of that, from the project or thesis on to, and how to accomplish that. That's usually the biggest hurdle that people have in achieving a doctorate degree or a doctorate not. So the document that we sent out, the CED 707, we have decided to give credit for DCS 501 and 502 for people who, if they will read that document and send us some kind of a summary or just something to show that they've read and understand that document. Those two, the first one is about selecting your project or thesis topic, and 502 is the essentially scoping and getting that into focus. So that's what this particular slide is about. The first thing you need to do to identify a need in unit service. The doctorate project is focused on unit service. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to happen in a unit. It could be at a district level or even a council service or council level, but it somehow or other needs to impact commissioner unit service, whether that's an improvement in it or something that to improve that. And as you think about your project to do that, you want to first of all make sure that you have the motivation to actually do it, because this is something that's going to take time. Most people set a time limit of sometime within a year, perhaps more, but it's difficult to maintain any kind of motivation to get a project done like that over more than a year. So I would recommend something that takes somewhat less than a year to get done. And make sure that it's something you're really interested in doing. The second thing to consider is this a fit for me? Do I have the background? Do I have the knowledge? Do I have some special skills or something that I can bring to this? And do I have the resources? And one of those resources, of course, is time. Do I actually have the time to do this project? And how much effort is it going to take? So all of those kind of things get folded into a proposal that your council may have its council-specific form, or there's a general form in the CED 707. But the proposal is for both you and the council. Think of it that way. Essentially, you're writing down in this proposal what you're going to do and how you're going to get it done. And think about, how can I focus this down? Usually we think of big things, and getting big things done takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. They can be important to do, but we oftentimes on an individual basis, which is what this program is, really can't get those things done. So you need to focus it down to something that you can actually accomplish. Look at your own limitations. Look at the expectations that other people have for you, the demands on your time, so on. And once you get it sort of written out, apply what SMART goals. Anybody know what that is, by the way?
You said SMART goals?
Yeah. What is SMART?
Yeah, they talk. So specific, measurable, attainable, I forget the R.
Relevant.
Yeah, relevant and timely.
Yep. And if you can't remember those, you can look them up. But that's really helpful to use that to assess your proposal, just to make sure that it's going to work. Now, talk about the project and the thesis and what's the difference there. There's really not a whole lot of difference. The project is something you actually do. What I did for mine was I proposed to investigate land around Utah Lake, large lake here in central Utah. And because the Utah National Parks Council at the time only had one small camp that was dedicated to cub camp. And so we were looking for another place, and preferably a place where we could offer fishing and some water sports and things like that for Cub Scouts. Notice that I didn't promise to get any land. I only promised something that I could do and I was in control of, and that was to investigate and find out what was available. But that's just an illustration of the kind of things that you can do. A thesis, on the other hand, is something that comes out of study and research that you do. You might look for, a wide range of materials and so on. And one of the best ones that I ever saw was a man that recognized that we were not serving non-LDS units in our council very well. So he essentially reached out to other councils to find out how they were handling that. Were minority sort of groups in their councils, and ended up with a very influential thesis that influenced quite a bit of how we were administering unit service in the council. And that sort of brings me to the next point. The thing that we look at when a proposal comes in is this going to be useful to the commissioners in the units, in the district, or in the council. So that's the primary thing for judging a proposal is it going to be useful? Is it helpful? Now, the other thing about doing projects, you don't have to do everything yourself. You can provide leadership. I'm no good at photography. I went and got a photographer to take pictures of potential campsites and that sort of thing. So view yourself as providing leadership for this project. And it's perfectly fine to have somebody else help you with it on parts of it and so on, as long as you're providing that leadership. It's really good if you have a mentor. Somebody who, that doesn't have to be somebody in commissioner college or somebody with a degree or that sort of thing, but somebody who understands your project and what needs to get done in that project. They can be a great help just keeping you on track. Somebody to talk to and say, I'm not quite sure how to go about this next thing I need to do. And if it's a good project, you're going to find things along the way that you hadn't thought about in your proposal. And you're going to need somebody to sort of bounce that off of and say, okay, how do I get that done? And that's your mentor. They don't even have to be a scouter. It could be somebody who's just, a contractor, somebody that knows how to get things done. Yeah. And Judy reminds me, you can have more than one mentor, as mentors are just people who can help you along the way. In the end, you'll have to finalize your report, whether you do a project or a thesis, there will be a report, and submit that to the Commissioner College Cabinet for approval. And that's going to be a question we'll talk about later, because quite a few councils don't have a Commissioner College or a Commissioner College Cabinet, of course, go along with it. But so that becomes a bit of a problem, how to get all of this done. But it can be done. So to talk a little bit more about it, the thesis is really library research, your research on the internet, scout literature, interviewing other people, observations you make yourself. But the key to getting it done is to keep records, keep everything. You may think, oh, I won't need that, but you probably will. And it's lots easier to get rid of it later when you really don't need it than it is to try and reinvent it. If you do a project, set a deadline to get started and actually get started. That's on projects, that's a major barrier of people who just, well, I need to get started on that. And I'll start next week. That doesn't work. Start now. And again, keep all your records. I essentially wrote my project report out of the emails that I had exchanged with people in finding out about land around Utah Lake. And it made it really easy to write the report because I had those emails in a file that I had set up exactly for saving the record of all of that. And remember that the old lesson that you learn in journalism, ask or tell when it happened, where it happened, and what happened. When, where, and what, the 3 W's. Well, there's a fourth one, who did it? But at any rate, that becomes part of your record. At this point, I've got listed 3 possible projects, but I'd like to kind of hear from some of you that may have some project in mind, and you're here in this class because I'm trying to figure out how to get it done. So we're going to open it up, but one of the things we did, because the council really needed it, and still does, was to start a Cub Pack and keep it going for 3 years. And so that's kind of a goal that really fits into that SMART goals. It's very specific. It's very measurable. It's achievable. And it's relevant, and it's very much time-based. That's a 3-year project. So
Ask Diana Ayers to speak about this chapter.
that Don Ayers, my helpers told me that Don Ayers has something to say about that. You need to get unmuted, Don.
Dan.
This is Dan Ayers. Okay.
Yeah, Jason has his hand raised there.
And I can't see the chat box, so
All right, we'll have call him Jason then.
Jason,
So
you have something.
I do. So I have a project idea that, that's the road. that I have an idea for. So one thing we have need of in my district is kind of a district level merit badge and rank advancement day. And so I want to organize something open to every district, every truth in our district and crew for where we organize, a handful of merit badges that they can come earn and try to get, the interesting stuff that they're not going to get every day in their unit, like maybe, plumbing or welding or, the stuff that they're not going to have to do as part of Eagle, like E-Prep or first aid or, citizenship and society, but maybe offer one or two of those as well. And so you have a schedule through the day. So there's like a morning session where they can have a merit badge in the morning and a merit badge in the afternoon with a break for lunch. And then also at the same time offer kind of a scout skills and advancement session as part of that. So instead of signing up for one of the merit badges, you would sign up for scout skills and advancement. So it would be an opportunity to have some older scouts teach scouts that need some help with some of their advancement, that maybe they're not getting it in their unit or they're hung up for whatever reason, that gives them an opportunity to learn those scout skills, demonstrate those scout skills, and have leaders available to sign off on it for them so that they can go do a board of review and be ready to, move up and
Okay.
This is Brian out in California. We do that, or it's called Merit Badge Midway, and we do that once a month.
Okay. Good input. I'm going to act as a mentor here for Jason. How are you going to get that done? I mean, what's your position in the district?
So I'm roundtable commissioner, and it seems kind of easy, right? I find us a location, so I find a unit that can host at either their chartered org or wherever. We do it in a park, whatever it needs to be. So my legwork is finding a location, finding volunteers to do those things, and actually putting together the sign up. So be it like a sign up genius for the youth to say, hey, I want to take plumbing, or I want to do welding, or I want to do the electricity merit badge, or I want to do scout skills. And so it's finding volunteers. So finding among our district's units older scouts that want to help with the scout skills section, find each of the units that want to help with the sign-offs, and also, recruit some merit badge counselors.
Okay. Comment, you're in a good position to do that. Lots of people in the district. And what do you know about their skills, and how will you find out? Because you need a plumber, you need a welder, you need, a lot of people with very special skills here.
You do. So we have a good selection in our council of varied merit badge counselors, and my district is the largest one as far as units and volunteers in our council. And so it would just really be a matter of going to the merit badge counselor list and saying, hey, I noticed that you're a merit badge counselor for these 5 merit badges. Would you be interested in teaching maybe one of these 2 on this particular Saturday or Sunday?
Okay.
So who are you going to talk to in your council to see if they're going to approve that? Do you know who to go to?
Oh yeah, no, I would go to my field director. So we don't have a district executive in my district, so I would just go to our field director. I see him monthly.
And you're planning on this being open to youth in the district, not just one unit?
Correct. I want this to be not just one unit. I want this to be open to all of the units in our district. And, if it takes off, maybe we rerun the event in the future as a council level event.
Yeah. It's certainly something to follow up on to see if they would approve it, because it's needed. In our area, we have to fill out forms where it involves more than one unit in terms of safety and things, and you may have something similar. Should we move to a different one?
Yep. Okay. So any other questions about proposals and ideas for projects that anybody has.
Okay, Dan Ayers has their stuff.
Dan Ayers, are you available now?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I just was going to point out to him that we do something very similar in Heart of America Council, but we actually do it at a university airport. That way, the kids can get the aviation merit badge, and it makes it really easy to get that merit badge, which is really hard. I haven't seen it as a doctorate project, but it is a great program.
Okay.
Jason, do you have a place where you guys do Webelos camp or somewhere?
What's that?
It normally happens at our count. So for us, we just do our Webelos camping at our one council camp, and it's a little far away from most of the units, and it's outside my district, so it wouldn't be a great place for us to be able to hold that. But like my unit's chartered org is a large church. Most of our units are large churches sponsored, and then so it would be just a relatively easy ask for, hey, can we book your space?
Good ideas, kind of things are coming up. But try and think outside the box when you're thinking about a proposal. Because you're trying to get something done that just isn't happening for whatever reason. And the purpose of the report, think about it this way, is to enable somebody in another council or another district or another unit to sort of duplicate the success that you've had. So that's really what it's all about. And that's what the report's about, is to allow somebody else to replicate what the good things that you've done. Okay, so writing the project report, and I'm reminded that we're running short on time a little bit, but this is the next major hurdle many people hit. And having taught technical writing, I understand how difficult it is if you haven't had training in that some kind. But anyway, write the first draft yourself, and it's just a simple organization, a title, some kind of introduction that spells out what your project was and why you did it. And then put together a body with subheadings. Those subheadings are essentially your outline for the writing. And another way to think about it is tell what happened in the order, or how the subject that you explored, how that developed. But think about it as telling a story. It has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. And try and make it interesting. And then at the end, you tag on your conclusions that, gee, this worked really well, or this didn't work, or whatever happened. Then it's time for a meeting with your mentor and advisor. Have him look at your written report and then rewrite it. Then meet with your mentor again and rewrite it. I used to tell my students in my technical writing classes, take it home and have your grandmother read it. And if she can't understand it, rewrite it. So anyway, get help from an editor if you need that. There's nothing wrong with that. That is not plagiarism. Some people think, well, if I don't write it myself, then it's plagiarized. No. You get help from an editor that knows what they're doing in terms of they understand grammar and punctuation and all that stuff that you may not understand or even be interested in. So anyway, you can get help from other people again to get this done. An important thing is use a currently compatible word processing program. Use Word or LaTeX, or that doesn't really matter what it is, but just make sure it's compatible so that you can send it to your mentor in an email or something like that, and they can actually open it and read it. Google Docs works for some people. to transmit things around and so on. But then now you're getting to the point where you organize it a bit better. You have a title page that has your name, your current commissioner position, your district and your council and your contact information, and that it was submitted on a particular date for the purpose of your requirement of doctorate commissioner science. Those are just sort of standard things that need to be there. And then your report and thesis is much what you rewrote before. Title, an abstract is a short, typically 250 words or less kind of thing. That may be the only part that anybody ever reads, but nobody will read the rest of it if that isn't well written. You need a table of contents so that people can find the parts they're interested in. Scouting, we tend to use a lot of abbreviations and mnemonics and things like SMART. And so you need to put that in as to what those things are, because not everybody knows. And then again, the body with subheads to guide people through it as they read it. Things that are, it might be tables of data, or it might be some boring things, but information is needed. Stick that in an attachment. Don't put it in the body of the paper so that you have to plow through it to get to the interesting part. And again, meet with your mentor and advisor to get the final thing sort of approved before you send it to the commissioner college cabinet. And to finish up, you need to submit an electronic file to the dean of your doctorate program, and the dean will distribute it to the commissioner cabinet for their comments or approval. It may very well come back to you for some revision. Typically, that's more information that you didn't think was important, but the cabinet looks at it and says, you know, we really need to know about that. And then rewrite as necessary and resubmit for approval. And then attend the commissioner college, where everybody will make a big fuss over you because you got your degree. And it's also very proper to recognize it at a district meeting, a round table. And then keep up the good work for another 5 years. And it's a total of 5 years. You may have already spent that. And many people actually get their doctorate not at the same time as their degree because they've been in commissioner service for 5 years. Anyway, that's sort of the summary, but particularly for the out-of-council attendees, the project must benefit your council. In other words, you can't do a project in my council, in a different council. You do that in your council, and that means your proposal needs to be approved by your council. And if you don't have a commissioner cabinet, take it to your council commissioner. You have to have that and find out what they think about it and get their approval on it. One of the projects that has been done in other councils that I know of was that we took on a project to get commissioner colleges started. And then when it comes to the report and getting that approved and so on, you can get that also. A council commissioner can do that, or a district commissioner, if you don't have a commissioner cabinet. The recognition is done really by the district and council. Usually comes through a commissioner college, but it doesn't have to. It can be done on the council and district level. There's a question that came up when I was preparing this. If I already have a doctorate in the former council, can I earn another if I've moved councils? Or in my case, are the council I used to be a member of is gone. But it's been replaced by a new council. And in checking with that, it turns out that National has no policy on that. So your council commissioner or your commissioner college council cabinet is free to, as far as I can tell, decide what to do. So just as a suggestion, and I've just decided this since I'm the dean of the doctorate program for the Crossroads West Council, I've decided you can earn another doctorate in our council, even if you have one in another council, by doing a project thesis and serve as a commissioner for another 3 years. And with that, let's just use up the rest of the time with questions, comments. What do we have in the chat?
It was mentioned that some councils have a repository of doctorate thesis that they have online. I know our old council, Utah National Parks, had one that I'm not sure we still have a link to get to it. So there are many ways to find examples of projects and theses. I don't see anyone with their hand raised. I don't see any new chat. It's open for somebody to speak up.
Questions out there?
I have a question,
Yeah.
Lee. I mean, I can see that this could be the scope that you choose, but as far as the amount of work, would this compare to a wood badge ticket? More, less, the same, or just of your choosing?
Roughly the same, but the benefit is not really to be judged by how much work it took, or how much time it took. The real question to ask is, how beneficial is this? And what Jason talked about, going to take a lot of effort to get it started. Once it's started, if the project is written up properly, the thesis or so on, then somebody else can take it over and do it. That's, it may take him a month to get it done.
Lee, you're at less than 1 minute.
Okay.
Thank you for
But
answering
anyway,
the question.
no, the scope is just based on the benefit.
And one of the biggest things I've noticed through the years, people make it too broad. So that's why you go with people to help you on it. And any of you are welcome to contact us with an idea, whether you're in our council or not, to see if an idea might fly.
Or to add to that, I'm willing to edit project reports and theses from other councils. I enjoy reading them. So if you need an editor, feel free to send it to me. Okay, and I think our time's